let's look at how to ask. So that process, what is the process for asking questions? Like with anything in coaching, there's a process. The first thing that you want to do, and this goes back to week 1, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta affirm and build confidence. The supervisor, that story that I shared with you, she suffered from very low self-confidence, low self-esteem. She's an excellent supervisor, loves her work, and does an amazing job. However, never would she ask for anything that would help her. She felt that, she just doesn't deserve it. And so in my interaction with her, I had to start off. I quickly picked that up. And, when you coach, because you spend a lot of time listening more than blabbing. I'm blabbing lots here because, hey, I'm the only one talking on this course. But in a one-on-one session, you'll find that you do 80% of the talking. I only do 20. And that's true coaching. So I found that I had to affirm her and build her confidence, showed her what she was really, really amazing at, what she does really well, what she does well consistently, how she contributes to the center, the value that she brings to the children, the value she brings to her coworkers. And these are all true things because I worked with the whole center, so I know how her colleagues and the staff that she supervises, how they view her, and they absolutely loved her. But she would give her arm to them, but never would she ask a favor of them for her own self. So I had to affirm and build her up so that she got comfortable enough and confident enough to be able to even start to think, I could actually ask for something for myself. The other strategy or the process for asking questions is you got to stay curious and open. And here's what I mean. How many of you have actually come across someone who you're sharing whatever, you're talking about something that's happening or has happened rather to you, and immediately they give you solutions. They're telling you what you need to do. You know what you need? Can't stand it when people do that. Or they start prescribing from their own experiences. So, oh, this is what I did and this is what worked for me. You know what? Good for them. But you are not them, right? They're not you. And so how then, if you're going to be coaching your employees, how are you going to truly help them if all you're doing is telling them what they should do or what worked for you? The only way you can help them is to stay curious and stay open, and that way you hear a lot more and you're better set to ask the other types of questions. And that's where silence comes in beautifully as a tool. So when you ask a basic question about their assumption, and maybe, what's your reason for looking at it this way? That's where you zip it. You use silence right there and allow them to process. A lot of times people are talking and sometimes they're not hearing themselves, or sometimes they do hear themselves. So you just need to listen. And when you hear key things that are said, you simply, oh, Phyllis, may I just pause you right there? I just heard something that you said is just amazing. I wanted to know if you were aware of it. And that's how you create awareness in them, okay? So silence as a tool, and then this is where being a journalist comes in now. Use the W's. Who, what, when, where, and why. I use why very minimally because sometimes if you start off with why, it might put people on the defensive. They become defensive, and you don't want people to be defending themselves. So you want to not lead or start off with why, but you can ask the who. You can ask the what kinds of questions. So when did you realize that this situation needed to change, you know? And so what do you think needs to be done differently for this change to happen? Who do you know that could help make this happen, right? What kinds of resources do you need to help you make this happen? And one of the other types of journalist type questions that you can ask here is the how, the H. So your document that's on this site lists 8 different steps to, and I call them, they're coaching tips for questions. How do you ask a powerful question? And you want to keep questions open as opposed to closed. And that's what these W questions do, and the H. When you ask a who, what, where, when type of question and how, they're open. And so they require more than a yes or a no. And many of you might know this. Not all of us follow through and practice using these. So I want you to get in the habit of consistently using open-ended questions. Remember to stay curious, and you got to affirm the person. So you want to phrase questions that are curious, respectful of the person, and designed to get them to think. So your curiosity should not be seen as criticism, because again, like the supervisor I shared with you, if there's any self-doubt, self-esteem issues or so, the moment they sense you might be criticizing them, they're going to shut down. They're going to stop talking. Okay? So you want to keep people talking. And then, of course, the who, what, where, when, how, and use why minimally. Why sometimes has, as I said, an undertone of being, you know, judgmental and a bit accusing, like you're accusing the person for whatever choice they make. So you got to know how to use why. And if you're not really comfortable knowing what I'm sharing with you, stay away from the why and stick with the who, what, where, when, and the how. Powerful, beautiful, open-ended questions. So these are some of the process now that you put in place with the 5 different types of questions. So here are some examples of the 5 different types of questions. So on your screen, you should be seeing the slide that says check assumptions. So a question designed to check assumption, it could be, so what are your intentions for this session? So someone comes into your office, they want to lodge a complaint. You just simply ask, so Phyllis, what do you hope to get out of this? Like, what do you want as an end result? So you got to find out whether they have some goals in mind, have an intention in mind. Depending on your comfort level, you could ask things such as, so what would you like more of or less of? So that way you would feel better given the situation changing. And again, the assumption in that question is that you're assuming they want more of something or less of something in their lives. That's why they're complaining. And when you work with people from this level, it's almost as if you put blinders on them, but in a positive way. You steer them in a direction where they don't get distracted by their emotions. So remember, emotions are fleeting. They come and go like our weather. They come and go, you know, like our breath. They change moment by moment. So we cannot make decisions based on emotions. We need to actually make decisions based on, you know, good strong evidence, good strong facts, and really taking into consideration what is in it for the greater good, not just for one person, but the greater good, right? Another way to check assumption is, so what have you done lately to help take you closer to achieving your intention or achieving your goal? And the assumption here is that they've actually taken some steps, they've done something. And so the assumption in asking them this kind of question, again, is the blinders. You want them to start thinking, oh, have I done anything to fix this or am I just complaining, right? So when you're coaching, I can't stress this enough, You cannot be down there in the ditch with them, because being in the ditch does not allow you now to think about these kinds of questions. You're just kind of mired in your circumstances. And circumstances do change, but circumstances are also like emotions. They're fleeting, and we can't make decisions just based on circumstances. We need to look long term. So these are examples of the first type of questions that one needs to ask. The second one now has to do with creating awareness. So, a question asked such as, and here's an example of the how question. How do you know if the results you're getting are what you wanted in the first place? And again, the awareness creation goal here is how clear are your coachees on their intention? And another one is how do you intend or how do you tend to manage these challenges? See, and for some of you, and I know this because I've worked with so many children's centers here in the province and elsewhere, the natural tendency is for you to tell them and help them and fix. I want you to actually stop doing that. I want you to ask people questions, use silence, and get them to come up with some solutions, some recommendations, some thoughts around what they could do to improve. So you want to see how aware are they of what they are truly capable of doing. So my challenge to all of you is to refrain from fixing whatever the problems are that your people are coming to you with first, and allow them by asking questions to put forward some solutions. Okay, so moving along, we have some reasons why creating awareness matters, right? When you ask a question around what people can do to head off any possible obstacles or barriers, again, it is important because you're training your coachees to look ahead, to plan to overcome possible barriers. And it's all in the tone of voice use, your presence. That's why I started the course with creating a coaching environment. When you're in your staff meeting and you're asking people for ideas regarding a particular situation, issue, or thing that you want to do in your center, know that you're going to ask them these kinds of questions, the 5 different types of questions. But you want to prep them. Let them know, guys, I'm going to be asking you a whole bunch of questions, not to criticize, but to help us all look ahead, plan to overcome some barriers, and kind of just really flesh things out as much as we can so we can come up with the best set of solutions possible. All right? So who do you know who can help achieve what kinds of solutions you need to have in place in order? These are all ways in which you are developing that ability in your employees, your coachees, to become more aware of their innate abilities and capabilities, and you're drawing it out of them. But you, the coach, you, the director, assistant director, team leader, supervisor, whatever your role is, you have got to learn to use silence after you ask your questions so that these amazing results can come out of your coachees. So know when to zip it, know when to come back in with more questions. Okay? Lots that I'm sharing with you. So again, if I have a blog post that summarizes this, I want you guys to read it and share with me what you're doing in your center, what you've been doing before, what you plan to do. You'll see the homework after, but I really would like to challenge you to put these things in practice starting today. No time like the present. Then the third type of question has to do, of course, with solutions. Coaching is all about moving people forward. So if you're just talking about their assumption, helping them to become aware of their assumptions and, the situation itself, but no solutions put forward, no action taken, then you're not coaching. And so discovering solutions matters because on your slide here, it shows it's the first step to taking action. You got to know what it is you got to do to get to your desired goal, right? And when your coachee is coached to build or develop these solutions, it builds their confidence. And when you have a confident team that you're working with, man, that's when your center really shines, you know? People show up for work just ready to work and ready to move forward. And as it says in number 3, it just keeps people moving forward. It also, when you identify solutions, helps to clarify um, the intention. And later on, when I introduce the I.D.A.R.E framework itself to you, you're going to see why intention keeps popping up in these slides. Of course, when you have solutions, they also help identify the desired results and also to help create let's just go back to that slide there, the desired results and let's see here, and the solutions that the coachee wants to achieve. Okay. I don't see any messages so far, but let's move along. So we have about a half hour left in our session. I'm going to run through this next couple set of slides. I do have a video that I'd like for you to view. It's only 6 minutes in length, and it sort of helps to put things together. So you'll see a live coaching example in this 6-minute video. So the other kind of questions that to ask, the fifth kind now, has to do with change. Kind of change needs to be in place. And if you notice, it's all about growing, it's all about getting answers, it's all about changing, right? So when you ask them, so before we take these solutions and put them in action, you know, you got to know what the process is. You got to know, so how are we able to endure these? Can they be sustained? You got to know what kind of beliefs or values are leading or driving that process for change, and that ties right back to the very first question, the assumptions. So you, the coach, will always keep those things in mind, so that way when you hear the coachee say certain things, you can say, oh, we probably need to revisit perspective here, look at whatever opportunities we have to address that.